We'll hit the key ones, just it's more for time constraints. So with 1/6 in solving linear inequalities, the reason why we're putting linear inequalities together along with absolute value is that they're going to go together. Okay, with a linear inequality, basically you're just graphing on a number line, and it's either going to have an open circle or a closed circle. Okay, it's going to be a parentheses if it's an open circle. It's going to be brackets if it's a closed circle. So what that means is you're going to have different forms of writing values, and you're going to have to start getting into the habit of using open circles, or parentheses and brackets. Okay, whenever we start talking after next week, when we start talking about domain and range, okay, like what can our x and what can our y values be, we're going to do it with what's called interval notation, where it's going to have parentheses and brackets. Basically, parentheses means that that number is not included. Okay, it's going to go all the way up until that number, but it's never going to get there. Whereas with a closed circle, or like you're used to, greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, it's going to have brackets. Okay, that means that number is included. Okay, so if that number is included, then we're going to start actually at that number, and then we're going to go up from there or down from there. Okay, and then what we do is we normally, with inequalities, we go either to positive infinity or we go to negative infinity. If we think about it and we use a little bit of common sense, when are we going to go to positive infinity? When it's less than or when it's greater? Where is positive infinity going to go? It's going to be when it's greater. Okay, when it's greater than a number, we're going to go towards positive infinity. So like if I had, let's just say x is greater than 4. Okay, you can just kind of put this here. You're used to writing it this way. What we're going to do is basically we're going to go, is 4 included? No. So I'm going to have a parenthesis, I'm going to have a 4, and then I'm going to go to positive infinity. Okay. Again, this is new. You probably haven't seen interval notation. Okay. This is another way of writing it. You're going to get out of writing it the old Algebra 1 way of putting it as an inequality, and you're going to start writing things in what's called interval notation. Okay? So if we take the same problem here, or let's actually go, if we do less than. So give me something less than. Give me a number. Y is less than 2. So what's our smallest number here? Where's it going towards? Negative infinity. So you always put the smallest number on the left to positive 2. Okay? 2's the biggest number. We're not getting to 2, but 2's our reference point. Basically, we're going to get all the way up to 1.99 and as many 9s as you can think of. Okay? We're never going to get to 2. And we're going to go all the way to the left, or we're going to go less than. So our smallest value is going towards negative infinity. It works the same way whenever we deal with closed circles and the brackets, or the greater than or the equal to. So if I have, even if it's a x is greater than or equal to negative 3, I'm going to write this. I'm including negative 3, and I'm going towards positive infinity. Now, what do you notice about both, or every single infinity, whether it's positive or negative? There's a sign in front of it, and then what do you notice about on the very end of it? What is it, a bracket or is it a parenthesis? It's a parenthesis. Why is it a parenthesis, and why is it never a bracket around infinity? Can you ever get to infinity? No. Okay, so whenever we do this, so like this would basically say that we are going from negative 3 and up. every number bigger. Okay? I'll give you a little hint. Each of these signs, if you notice, which way is the red one up here at the top pointing? Left. What side is my infinity sign on? The left. Which way is the black one here with the x greater than 4? It's pointing to the right. Where's my positive infinity at? On the right. That tells you where your infinity sign is going to go. Okay? If your infinity sign is on the left, that means that it's going to negative infinity. Okay? We need to put the negative sign. Same way down here, if we put another example with y is less than or equal to negative 8. Is negative, so which way is it going? It's going left, so the infinity sign needs to be on the left. So if it's the infinity sign is on the left, then it's negative infinity on the left side. What's going to go on the right? Negative 8, and then the bracket. These two things mean the same thing. Okay? You're going to still be able to write it in inequality form. Just know that all of this is coming. Okay? In about a week, especially. Yes, ma'am?
Would your variable have to be on the left side for that to work?
Is whenever you have an inequality, I would always put the variable on the left. Just for the fact that it makes it so much easier so you know which direction that you have to shade, or whenever we write the inequality as interval form. Simple rules. Okay, for solving inequalities, use the same rules that apply for an equation. Okay, the only thing that is different, anytime you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, you have to switch the direction of the inequality. So if it's a less than, and you multiply or divide by a negative, you're going to flip it over to a greater than. Okay, that's the only thing that changes. So if I have y minus 6 is greater than 2, what do I need to do? Add 6, add 6. So y is greater than 8. Now, whenever we graph it, depending on who you've had, I'm good with going 8, 9, and 7. I don't need a long drawn out list of all these numbers. Hopefully by now you're freshmen, sophomores in high school. You know how a number line works. So going back from what we did, is it an open or a closed circle at the 8? It's open. So it's going to be an open circle. Which way am I going to shade? Left or right? Right. How would we write this in interval notation? Where are we going? Are we going towards positive infinity or negative infinity? Positive infinity. So 8 and then positive infinity. Is it going to be a bracket or a parenthesis with the 8? Parenthesis. Okay. We're going basically just on the other side of 8 to positive infinity. I would go ahead and start getting in the habit of being able to write it in interval notation. Same thing applies here. Even if I have the negative 3 times y minus 2 greater than or equal to 12. It's completely up to you how you do this. Okay? Depending on what you want to do, what's the negative 3 really doing with everything inside here? Multiplying, right? So you can either distribute everything through and then solve it, or we can divide by that negative 3 to start. Okay? It's completely up to you how you go about it. So if you want to distribute, I am okay with you going negative 3y plus 6 greater than or equal to 12. Now, know that the other option is if I have negative 3 times y minus 12, 2, not 12, greater than or equal to 12, is that I could divide that by negative 3 to start and have y minus 2. Now, I divided by a negative, so what do I need to do with that sign? Flip it and have negative 4. Okay? I'm going to show you both ways so you can kind of do it however you would prefer. What am I going to do on the left side in red? Subtract 6. So negative 3y greater than or equal to a positive 6. Let's finish this one out. What am I going to do with the negative 3y? Divide by a negative 3. So y is less than or equal to negative 2. Same one over here in black. If I add 2 to both sides, y is less than or equal to negative 2. I get the same answer. Regardless of how I do it, now it works out nice and neat because I can divide 12 by negative 3 evenly. Okay, that's what makes it work out really nice. Now, how would I write this in interval notation? Negative infinity. Negative 2 with the bracket. Okay, it's going to negative infinity. It's stopping at negative 2, and negative 2 is included. If I'm going to actually graph this, okay, or when I graph it, I'm just going to go negative 2, negative 1, and negative 3. It's going to be a closed circle, and then I am going to the left. So whenever we actually solve this, so if I have negative 9 less than p plus 4 less than 10, okay, and statements are so much easier to solve for, okay, because whatever I do to the middle, I do to the left, and I do to the right. So if I have p plus 4, I don't write it out as two separate problems. I just do it as one big problem. How am I going to get the p by itself on the inside? Subtract 4. And I'm going to subtract 4 everywhere. So the 4 is gone. Negative 9 minus 4 is negative 13. Less than p less than 6. So again, whenever I graph this, now I'm going to have negative 13, I'm going to have 6, 0's about there. Are they open or closed circles? Open circles. So I'm going to have a circle here and a circle there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to shade between the two values. Now, whenever I write this as an interval, it's real simple. Is it going to be parentheses or brackets on the end? Parentheses. So I'm going to have a parenthesis 13, comma, 6, parenthesis. This here in black means the same thing here in bluish green. We have an OR statement. If you have an OR statement, you're just going to solve two different problems is really all you're going to do. When we get into absolute value, we'll solve two of the same problem, really. We're going to actually run out of time, but we'll be okay. So whenever you do an OR statement, I'm just going to solve the problem on the left. So what do I need to do with the problem on the left? Do you want to distribute the 3 or do you want to divide everything by 3? Okay. So if I distribute the 3, I'm looking at 6x plus 9 less than 3. Now what? Subtract 9. So 6 less than negative 6. Now this is one of those things that students will want to try and make a mistake here. What am I going to divide by? 6. Okay? What do you think, what mistake do you think gets made right here though? They flip it. Should they flip it? No, why not? Because we're not multiplying or dividing by a negative. Just because our answer's negative doesn't mean we automatically flip it. It's if you multiply or divide by the negative. What am I going to do on the second one, or the other problem? Add 8. So add 8. So I'm at 3x greater than 21. Divide by 3. X is greater than 7. So now, -1, +7, there's 0. Which way is it going to go? Outside, right? Open or close circles? Open. Going out. Open. Going out. When we write this as an interval, it's real simple. You write it as two separate ones. How am I going to write this one over here on the left side? -infinity, 2, -1, or how am I going to write the second one? Parenthesis, 7 to +infinity.